Well, we could speak to Bernard Smith. He is live in Bethlehem in the occupied West Bank. Bernard, what's the mood there ahead of Orthodox Christmas?
Well, Maleen, 260 million.
It's Christmas Eve for millions of Orthodox Christians around the world, but in Bethlehem in the occupied West Bank, celebrations are muted. A procession of clergy is currently underway at the Church of the Nativity. Let's go to Bernard Smith. He's live in Bethlehem in the occupied West Bank. What's the atmosphere like, Bernard?
260 million people.
OK, that's it for me, Maleen, Saeed. Folibad Thibault will be here in just around 30 minutes with more of the day's news. Where there's next, an Inside Story looks at the political situation in Bangladesh ahead of Sunday's election. Do stay with us. Well, much-needed medical supplies have arrived at a field hospital in Khan Yunis. They're part of a shipment sent. Let's hear now from our correspondent, Hind Kudari. She's been speaking with displaced Palestinians who've been taking shelter at the Al-Aqsa hospital in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Israeli forces have reportedly arrested and beaten several Palestinians during raids in at least 9 towns in the occupied West Bank. Exchanges of... Now, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Turkey on the first leg of another diplomatic tour of the Middle East. He will be... OK, let's speak to Ahmed Halal. He's director of the MENA region at the Strategic Advisory from Global Council and a specialist on Middle East geopolitics. Thank you for joining the programme. The Turkish president, of course, plenty more ahead on the News Hour, including Myanmar's... Voters in Bangladesh will cast their ballots in a general election on Sunday, but there is little doubt about the outcome. That's because the main opposition party is boycotting the vote. Rights groups say there's been a systematic crackdown on dissent and that the country looks set to emerge as a one-party state. An alliance of armed groups in Myanmar have seized control of a city in the north in a district bordering China. The three... Welcome back. You're watching Al Jazeera. A reminder of our top stories this hour. Authorities in Israel are reporting record number of military casualties as the army engages Hamas fighters in its ground offensive in Gaza. Israel's Rehabilitation Authority estimates that more than 12,000 soldiers will suffer physical disabilities this year as a result of injured on the battlefield. U.S. President Joe Biden has kicked off his re-election campaign with a blistering attack on Donald Trump, the man who could be his challenger in the election later this year. He described the former president as a threat to democracy. This speech was made a day before the 3rd anniversary of the storming of the Capitol Hill buildings by Trump supporters. And the U.S. Supreme Court has announced it will consider Trump's appeal for Colorado state ruling that barred him from the Republican primary ballot there. The state's top court... The death toll from the earthquake that struck western Japan on New Year's Day has risen to more than 100. More than 200 others are still missing. The UN's World Food Programme is warning that 1.4 million Sudanese refugees are at risk of starvation. The organisation has been forced to cut food aid because of a lack of money. Ahmed Idris reports. The Brazilian football legend Mario Zagallo, the first person to win the World Cup as a player and as a coach, has died at the age of 92. The winger... A sailor who'd been missing for 2 weeks has been found in a return to Gaza, and for some Palestinians there, art has become the only form of expression and escape from Israel's onslaught. Juliet Ager has a story of one painter trying to make a lasting impact. OK, that's it from me, Maleen, Saeed. I'll be back, though, at the top of the hour. Much more coverage of the war in Gaza, as well as all the day's other news.